welcome back to the Harpreet Singh Show, and you're watching Tania's Truth Talk. And we have got a guest today, Gregg Valentino from New York, USA. Welcome to the show, Gregg. How are you today?
Hey, Tania, how are you?
Oh, good. It's nice to talk to you again, Gregg.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, they refer to you as the most hated bodybuilder in the world, or you are known as the man with the biggest arms in the world, and you are also known as the man whose biceps blew up. But the reason that I wanted to have you on the show, Gregg, is because the Gregg that I know is not the Gregg that the media is making you out to be. You have been a competitive, all-natural bodybuilder for 23 years before you ever even got into anabolic steroids. So can you elaborate on that for me?
Yeah, sure. That whole hated man stuff, which is all over the internet, that's old. That's from like 2000, 2001. The whole part about my bicep exploding, that really never happened. That was a spin that they put on to sell a television show. That
Right.
was a hematoma. It was a I got hit by my 9-year-old by letting go of a baseball bat. But again, that was in the 1999, 98, 99 when that happened. So, they're really going far back. But, I don't mind. Whatever they want to say, they can say. I don't let anything bother me. But, that's pretty much old today now because I work for the magazine, Muscular Development Magazine, and my column's their top column for the
Yes,
past.
I actually have been reading the columns that you write, and you don't hold any punches in those columns that you write. So tell me more about that.
Well, I'm paid to do all the entertainment in bodybuilding, so I get a little wacky. It's
Yes.
a little edgy, but that's what I'm paid for. That's why my boss calls me the rambling freak because I don't shut up. And
Yes.
I used to be Freaky Bill. I'm not anymore. Freaky Bill.
What is this website that people can go to read more of your columns, Gregg?
Well, you know what it is. It's musculardevelopment.com is the online site, but it's my columns are mostly in the paper magazine. It's that you get on the newsstand. It's
Right.
muscular development.
Right.
They don't really put them on online.
Right. Yeah, I read it, and you definitely don't hold any punches. I read your last article recently. There, you were talking about your girlfriend. You've been with her now for 6 years, I believe.
Yeah.
Uh huh.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So, what do you say about the thing? I was reading on the internet. There's a lot of stuff that people say, and the media can just take 1 ounce of truth and just run with it and completely distort the truth, because people have been saying all over the media for years that you have been injecting synthol
Yeah.
into your arms, but apparently that's not the case, and it was not synthol, it was site injections, correct?
Arrested for anything other than that. But the thing is that people don't understand. See, they see the hematoma, that one arm, only that one arm, that big arm that looked like a balloon that you see all over YouTube.
Yes.
And that was an injury. I drained it of blood. There was no oil. There was no nothing. Some
Yes,
people
I
said,
saw that video. I didn't see any oil coming out of there. It looked like a
no,
lot of blood from a hematoma to me.
yeah, that's what it was. It was a huge hematoma. You know what's funny? There's people actually say, well, he had implants and all kinds of insane things. Well, I guess I have the only implant that shrunk. You know what I mean? Because I was too, when I was, I mean, I'm only just shy of 5'6". So I'm not really tall, but
Yes.
I was for 270 pounds, and my waist wasn't big or anything. I mean, I was huge.
And
And
I was reading you had a 58-inch chest. I mean, that is just incredible, even for a guy 6 feet tall, let alone 5'6",
yeah,
and
so I mean,
28-inch arms.
it wasn't too pretty looking, I'll tell you that. But you know, it's I was juiced out to the max. I mean, I was selling the stuff. So at the time, you're talking a long time ago, because I haven't looked like that in, believe me, a long time. It's been over 10 years. But I'm saying when I was arrested for selling it is when I stopped. But I was selling it, so I figured I might as well blast it in me. So basically, the end of the 90s, 2000, 2001, I was like insane with that. And I was taking a lot of testosterone. I mean, I was taking probably 4,000, 5,000 milligrams a week, which is
That is
absolutely,
just crazy. Now, you went to
yeah, well, that's
prison.
why I
You
weighed
went
over
you went to
270.
the federal penitentiary for a year for that, didn't you?
Yeah, no, Westchester County. I was in a county jail.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
experience like?
Oh, well, actually, it's what changed my life. So at the time, I thought my life was done.
Right.
But, what I did was I made it into a good thing. I after that, believe it or not, they put my arrest in the media and everything. And then I got the job with the magazine, and I started doing stuff. And I've been on, a lot of TV shows. I've
Right.
been in a couple movies. So I actually parlayed what was once a negative into a positive. And
Right.
if I can do it, anybody else can do it. So I'm just saying that's the key. Every dark cloud is a silver lining if you can find that cloud.
Yeah, and I think, I think you've been a guy that has never hidden the fact that you've ever done steroids. I mean, you see so many guys out there that are competitively bodybuilding and they're denying through their teeth that they're doing steroids. So you've been straight open and honest with that and not really been holding any punches about it. I mean, when we were going to do this interview, I asked you if there was any questions you didn't want me asking. You said anything goes, you got nothing to hide.
Right. I think it's better that people, know all that stuff. Listen, I understand that people think like when they saw my one arm, it was only one arm, it was the left arm. When they saw it looked like a big giant balloon, and I understand they think, oh, synthol implant, whatever they want to think.
Right.
It wasn't an infection. It was a hematoma. I drained the blood, but I understand what they think. But when
Right.
people that the problem with the internet is that you could put anything on there, and if somebody didn't like you, they can make up a rumor and they can start putting things out there, and then people believe it. There's even a commercial here in New York for like I think it's Geico or one of them where they're it's an application that you can get for your phone, and they were saying that
Yeah.
on there they're making a joke where a girl tells a guy, well, obviously, I heard that on the internet this and this, and they can't put anything on the internet if it isn't true. You know what I'm saying? They make jokes about that, and then she meets some guy that's a model, and he's not a model, he's this big overset guy, but he
Oh,
told her he was a model from France.
oh, I think
So
that's
I'm
a
just
show
saying,
called Catfish, isn't it?
no, it's actually it was actually a commercial.
Oh, okay, okay.
The commercial's actually faster than less time than what I just took to explain it. But the
Right.
bottom line is they make jokes about the internet, saying, "Hey, if you saw it on the internet, it's got to be true." You know what I mean? And you know
No, I
that's
completely empathize with you there because I mean, with myself being a former madam who is now turned into ministry, I get all kinds of, you know, people saying stuff on the internet that's not true about me as well. But we just got to kind of roll with the punches when you're in the public eye, I guess.
well, like look at yourself. You took what was negative in your life and you turned it into a positive. I turned my arrest into a positive thing. I
Right.
have a book that's out. I mean, I work for the top magazine.
Yeah, tell me more about your book again, Greg.
Well, my book is, I'm not trying to sell books or anything. First of all, my publisher owes me money, and he's up there in Canada. So if you hear this, how about a paycheck?
Okay.
Um, but
I'll make sure I send them a copy of the video.
ECW Press, you owe me money. But
Yeah.
so no, the thing is that the book is basically on my life of all the stuff that happened to me, in the streets of New York City.
Right.
I was born in Midtown Manhattan, New York. And
Mhm.
I've lived here my whole life. But it's basically on all the stuff I went through in the 90s, and it's called Death, Drugs, and Muscle, and it contains just what the title says: death, drugs, and muscle.
Mm.
I mean, I was around some bad stuff, and I did some wacky things, you know what I mean,
Right.
involved in wacky things, but I'm here to talk about it now, and I've parlayed that into a good,
Right.
just like you did. You got your own TV show and you're doing things, and that's the beauty of it. You could either you could either cease to exist or you can go forward in life,
I think
and
you should get your own TV show. I mean, judging by the columns that you write, so I'm going to put it out there. I think Greg Valentino should get his own TV show. I think you'd get a lot of ratings, Greg.
well, thank you. I agree with you. So somebody, if you're listening,
Greg, we're going to take a commercial break here, and we'll
absolutely.
get back into more things. So please tune in after the commercial break. We're speaking with Greg Valentino.